Hello students, now we are going to discuss about the conservation of medicinal plants, right? So when we talk about the conservation of medicinal plants, as the name indicate, we are going to preserve the medicinal plant, those plants which are there in their decline phase, or maybe they are going to invisible from the planet. That's what it become very important, because those medicinal plants may have the kind of active constants which may be helpful into the life threatening disease like cancer, AIDS, and different types of viruses, right? So that's what conservation of medicinal plant we need to understand very properly, since it has been added into the newly into the subject. The most of the content it might not be available into the available resources, right? So be there with the video and try to find out the exact content what you are going to write in your exam in the easiest way, right? So when we talk about the conservation of medicinal plant, first we need to understand that endangered medicinal plants, right? So those medicinal plants which are going to invisible from the planet or in the earth, that we have to understand why the things are going on, right? So when plant parts, different plant parts we are using, maybe root, stem, fruit, flower, bark, oils, or different types of what you call extract and all those things, latex and all those things. So these are collected from the wild sources for the last few decades frequently, without taking care of the saving of medicinal plants, right? We have not even thought about how this plant, if they will be invisible from the planet, what will happen, right? So like that, it has been collected from wild source, maybe from the maybe the sandalwood, or maybe other flowers which is very rare and very costly, maybe, right? So that thing has happened. So that is the reason. The second reason you can write here, the important species are on the verge of extinction, right? So they are the important species which are very rare. For example, if you take about giloy, so giloy in the some, maybe giloy it is being cultivated by the different pharmaceutical companies, maybe for example Patanjali or so many other Amway and all those things they are cultivating. But even though so many plants which are there in the forest, they are in the verge of the extinction. They are not going to further grow in the next season, right? Due to the over exploitation and habitat destruction, maybe by the natural hazards, maybe storm, maybe flood, then earthquake, slides and all those things. Or it has been taken frequently from the wild sources, but at the same time we have not even thought that how they are going to grow for the next season. That has happened, the over exploitation has happened. Then more than 95% of medicinal plants, right, they are collected from wild sources, right? And a number of them become endangered in their natural habitats, right? We 95% we are having so many collection, cultivation and collection for the commercial medicinal plant which are being used by our pharmaceutical industries, like maybe herbal drug industries, herbal units, those we are cultivating. But at the same time, most of the 95% plants, they are being used from the wild source, but at the same time it has not been cultivated for a long time, and maybe no organization is taking care. So those species are endangered, right? So that's what endangered of medicinal plant you can write in the first. Later on, the loss of biodiversity of medicinal plant, right? So what has happened in frequently few decades, last few decades, the environmental factor has happened which has nobody is taking care, like maybe like for example the number one, rainfall. In last few years, what happened, annual rainfall decreased. Nowadays also we are seeing in rainy season there is no rain, but at the same time in summer or in winter we are getting huge rain. So there is a ununiformity is there in the rainfall. Some whenever it is coming, the rain is coming, but at the whenever the farmer required, the cultivator required, at that time rain are not coming, right? So health of herbaceous species during summer, it has interfered. It has been what you call come into the endangered, and they are in the risk. Second reason of the loss of biodiversity is deforestation. Last 2 decades, what has happened, wood collection, frequently wood collection has been taken from the wild and forest, but at the same time no cultivation occur, right? Third reason, it may be the siltation of water bodies, right? So water level is also going down day by day. Water holding capacity of the soil, it is going to lose their particle size. The soil is going to slides by the landslides and by the movement of those particles. They are not going to retain the water for a long time. Underground water is also going to reduce, and it is keep on day by day. Every year it is going to reduce. Previously we used to get in 150 feet the water, but now even though if you are going to 500 feet and 400 feet, maybe in 1000 feet also there is no water in the summer season that we are facing whenever we are going for borewells, and whenever we are going for such kinds of digging into this earth, we are not getting water, right? The fourth reason, it may be lacking of pollinators. Pollinators are very very important in the reproduction of the medicinal plants, right? Honey bees colonies, it is going to reduce the number of, they are going to in the decline phase. Loss of pollinators, the other dragonfly, butterfly, other insect which they will travel from one flower to another flower, and the pollination is taking place, and asexual the reproduction is taken place, and the most of the plants, the spread of this the fertilization is going to happen. So that thing it is missing nowadays, right? Then infrastructures is the very very important reason which is happened by the human being. The expansion of the roads, the expansion of the power lines, construction of the buildings, colonies, plot cutting, and they are removing the forest, damaging the forest and medicinal plants without taking care, because government is giving permission and maybe other organization. So these things has to be taken care. Actually this is happening in very huge. And then agriculture and forest method, when we talk about the only monoculture or over exploitation, right? Only one type of crop where they are getting the very good amount, or for the commercial purpose, for selling purpose, maybe rice, wheat, mustard, sunflower, sugarcane, all those things are being cultivated for long time, but at the same time the medicinal plant which is very rare, they are not going to cultivate. Then at the same time they are doing the over exploitation. The people, the human being, they are taking it from the natural mother herbs, and they are taking it, and but at the same time they are not cultivating. So these are the loss of, these are the reason for the loss of biodiversity of the medicinal plants, right? Now so then only we can understand what is the conservation of medicinal plant. So when we talk about the conservation of medicinal plants, these things comes first. How we can define the conservation of medicinal plant? The management of human use of the biodiversity or of the diversity, so that it may yield the greatest sustainable benefits to present generation, while maintaining its potential to meet the needs and the aspirations of the future generation. If it will not be conserved properly, how the future generation is going to come to know that these kinds of medicinal plant also exist in the earth. For example, now in the, if you take about the animals, dinosaur it is no more in the earth, but there is a we are having the their bones, their skins, their other thing into the museum only, right? So now if you want to see the dinosaur, no forest it is available here where the dinosaur existing. Like there are so many medicinal plant which we might not be knowing, which is not there in our textbook, but even though they are exploited, they have been removed from the earth. So that's what the management has to be done in a such a way, so that we are going to get the great sustainability benefit for the present generation as well as the to the future generation. So what are the strategies supposed to be there? Strategy for the conservation of medicinal plant, when we talk about these three things can happen, and now it is going on also. Legislation, so many rules and regulations has to be framed, act has to be framed, so that people, they will have the fear, or they will not going to use the mother herb or the mother nature by without thinking of their conservation. In situ conservation, it is taken place by different organization, by the government bodies, agencies. They are going to have the plans and strategies, rules and regulations to conserve them. And ex-situ conservation also may have, right? So let us try to describe that what are the strategy may happen, and how it is going to help us to conserve the medicinal plants, right? So when it comes to the first one, we can have the this thing, legislation. So there are different rules and regulation has been framed. For example, these are the series of legislation or act which I have arranged in such a way so that it will be easy to remember for you. Number one, Forest Act 1927. So it is the increasing order. Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Forest Act 1980, right? 1927 to 1980 is a different act which has been added so many other rules and regulations. Then fourth one, Environment Protection Act 1986. Further 80 to 86 it has increased. National Forest Policy 1988, 86 to 88, right? National Biodiversity Act 2002. Okay, then the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest, the Dwellers Act 2006. So this many act has been framed to conserve the forest, medicinal plants and other plants. Okay, so that you can mention in the legislation point. Second thing, it is the in situ conservation, right? So as the name indicate, in situ means inside or within, right? So conservation of its natural habitat, wherever they have grown or into their natural habitat by their own, by using the rainfall and by using the over the agroclimatic requirement they have grown up. So those plants can be conserved, not allowing the human being to cut them and not damaging them. Okay, so in that we are having gene bank, we are having gene section, right? Sanctions. Then biosphere reserves we can have. National parks are there, so many national parks which has been conserved, not allowing the peoples without permission, right? And it will be there in the under the government supervision. Then scared sites, then scared groups, biosphere reserves. There are 14 biosphere reserves are available in India. National parks, 91 national parks, it is located the particular area, it has been sealed by the government body, and nobody can take it anything, either plant or animals can be damaged by the human being without having any proper permission or by the government supervision. On farm conservation, there are traditional farmers, those who are cultivating the medicinal plant which are rare, and by because of that they are getting subsidies, the crop insurance and all those things, and the investors will be from the government side or by the different government bodies and agencies. Home gardens can be encouraged by the government side so that the medicinal plant can be conserved into their natural habitat. Coming to the ex situ conservation, that is the third point where we can write down. These 3 points are very important when you are writing the conservation of medicinal plant. Here ex situ means, ex means outside, the conservation outside of natural habitat, wherever they have grown, from there it has been taken in a such a way so that it can be preserved without having any damage or any changes or any variations. Botanical gardens can be framed, the germ plastic collection can be done, like here BGCI, Botanical Garden Collections International, right? So these are has been formed in the so many location of the country and the worldwide also. Different parks can be made. In Dubai there is a park where the certain types of flowers are available. In India also there are CMAP, CMAP is there, agriculture university is there in Hyderabad, right? So like that, so many parks it has been formed where they are preserving the rare plants and they are growing by understanding their life cycle, their growth, their nutrient, fertilizers, water supply, agroclimatic requirement, temperature, pH, everything has to be maintained by understanding the scientific things of the growth and development of that particular plant. Seed bank can have, like we can preserve the seeds so that whenever we want we can grow them in the proper climatic conditions. Pollen bank or pollen preservation also, because pollens are very important for the reproduction of the medicinal plants and other crops. So if you are preserving them, then only the particular types of reproduction can happen, otherwise it will be it is going to decline from the earth. DNA libraries we can have, we can preserve the DNA, the diribose nucleic acid which is there into the plant. So if we are preserving the DNA, we can have further proper types of tissue culture and we can grow the plant into our laboratories. Plant tissue culture repositories are there, right? In the proper climatic conditions, even though if it is marine plants, marine medicinal plants and animals, so we can have the proper culture and we can preserve them for the long time, and whenever it is required we can grow them into the laboratory and further we can transplant into the open field. Field gene bank also we can have, the field repository, the clonal repository can happen into the proper temperature maintenance, pH maintenance, and we can preserve them in for the long time, right? Then conservation of liquid nitrogen, in the liquid nitrogen by using them, that cryopreservation is very important topic where we are using the minus 165 to minus 196 degree centigrade, right? So here deep freezers we are having, where we can use the cell lines, we can preserve the different types of callus, single cell, root cells, stem cells, or wherever the totipotency capacity is there in the which part that can be preserved, and further we can grow for the seed propagation, vegetative propagation, or micro propagation, and we can have the plant tissue culture, and later on we can transplant into the open field. So these kinds of preservation, scientifically it is very very important to preserve the medicinal plant, otherwise they are going to decline from the habitat, and we are not going to regain them once again because it has gone, right? So that's what it become very important, not only for the syllabus point of view, we have to think about there that how we can preserve these kinds of animal and plants, so that because this earth is not only for human being, this earth is for all kinds of living organism, which has been given by the 5 kingdom classification of living organism: protista, monera, plantae, animae. So all the habitat, all the kingdom are having the same right to stay here and grow their colonies, grow their families into the earth. That has been given by the god, right? That right has been given by the god, but human could not understand, and they are going into the so many problems in the future. Thank you.